Good morning. All right, today, NF3, pages 6 and 7. Okay, NF3, pages 6 and 7. It looks like this. And it looks like this. All right, we are going to start with this page. I'm going to do a little bit of teaching first, and then we'll move on to that. So we're going to look at this first problem that I have written. All right, this says 1 1/4 plus 2 2/4. Now, these are not just fractions. These are whole numbers plus a little part of a fraction. So this is telling us that there is 1 1/4. So the denominator tells me how many pieces this shape is split into. So I know that it is split up into 4 pieces. So here's 4. Now, it tells me I have one whole circle. So how many of those am I going to color in? I'm going to color in all 4 of them. That's one whole. Then it tells me I have 1/4 of another one. So I'm going to color in 1/4. So now I have 1 1/4 plus 2 whole ones and 2/4. So I'm going to color in 1 whole, 2 whole ones, and now I'm going to color in 2/4. All right, now it wants me to add those together. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add the whole numbers. So how many whole circles do I have colored in? I have 1, 2, 3 whole circles. So I'm going to put a large number 3 right there. That's how many whole numbers I have. Now I'm going to add the fractions. So this is 1/4 plus 2/4. Well, you guys know how to do that now. 1 plus 2 is 3 out of 4. I'm not changing the size of my pieces, so I keep the denominator the same, and I have 3/4. 1, 2, 3 out of 4. So next to that large number 3, I'm going to write 3/4. So 1/4 plus 1 1/4 plus 2 2/4 equal 3 3/4. All right, let's look at the next one. So the next one is 3 3/8. So the 8 tells me how many pieces my shape is split into. I have 3 whole ones. Oh, my marker's not doing so well. That's all right. 1, 2, 3, and then I have 3 of these pieces. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then I'm going to add 2 2/8. So 2 whole ones. Well, that's goofy. And 2/8. So now I'm going to add up my whole ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 plus 2 is 5. And now I'm going to add up my fractions. 3/8 plus 2/8 equals what? 5/8. So I'm going to have 5 whole circles plus another 5/8. So 5 5/8. All right, now we're going to do the same thing on subtraction. So this one I went ahead and colored in my 2 2/4. There are 2 and 1, 2 and 2/4. Now I'm taking away 1 whole circle, taking it away. Okay, I took that circle away, but I'm also taking away one of those fourths. So 2 minus 1 is 1. I have 1 left over. And how much is here? 1/4. 2/4 minus 1/4 is 1/4. So my answer is 1 1/4. All right, now let's take this learning that we just did and now let's apply it to our worksheet. So I need your worksheet out and let's look at these problems. So I have 3 1/4 plus 2 2/4. So I'm going to add my whole numbers. 3 plus 2 is 5. And 1/4 plus 2/4 is 1 plus 2 is 3 4. So 5 3/4. All right, next one. Take my whole numbers. 1 plus 2 is 3. And 1/3 plus 1/3 is 2/3. All right, my friends. Now, you're going to do 2 more addition problems, and then you're going to move to subtraction. Let's do this one together. So let's subtract 3 minus 1. 3 minus 1 is 2, and 2 6 minus 1 6. 2 minus 1 is 1/6. So 2 1/6 is what we have left over. All right, last one I'm going to do with you, and then I'm going to let you do these two and these two on your own. All right, 5 minus 1 is what? 4, you got it. And 3 minus 1 is 2 out of how many? 6. All right, my friends, finish this one and this one, these two and these two. Pause the video and then move with me to page 7. All right, here we are on page 7. Now, on page 7, it's going to ask us to do things that I haven't taught you yet. Some of you might understand these as we get to them. You might understand fractions in simplest form. You might understand mixed numbers and improper fractions and all of those things. For those of us who are just learning fractions, I'm going to go through and help with these. All right, so let's look at number 1. It says 7/8 minus 3/8. Okay, so there's no whole numbers to subtract. So we're just going to do 7 minus 3. 7 minus 3 is 4, and we leave the denominator the same. Now, my friends, looking at that 4/8, you're going to think about equivalent fractions. What do you know about 4/8? Well, we know that 4 is half of 8. So I know that 4/8 is also equal to 1/2. Now, when it says show your answer in simplest form, 1/2 is your simplest form. Okay? All right, let's do the next one. 8 minus 2. 8 minus 2 is 6 out of 10. Now, I'm going to think again about equivalent fractions. And I want to take these big numbers and I want to change them into smaller numbers. Now, we know with equivalent fractions, whatever we do to the top, we have to do to the bottom. Do you remember in some of the problems we multiplied? So we said times 2 times 2 or times 3 times 3. Well, this one, when we want it in the simplest form, we want the smallest number. And in order to get numbers smaller, we know that we have to subtract or divide. Now, in fractions, we're not going to subtract, so we know we're going to have to divide. So, is there a number that I could divide the top and the bottom with and get a smaller number? So, let me think. I always start with 2. If I count by 2s, will I land on 6? 2, 4, 6. Yes. If I count by 2s, will I land on 10? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yes, I can divide by 2. So I'm going to divide the top by 2, and I'm going to divide the bottom by 2. Remember, I'm just finding an equivalent fraction, but I want it in its simplest form. So I want the smallest numbers possible. So 6 divided by 2, 2, 4, 6. I count by it 3 times. And then 10 divided by 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I count by 5 times, and my answer is 3/5. So 3/5 is the simplest form, and it is equivalent to my answer, which is 6/10. All right, let's look at this next one. 6 plus 4. Oh, pardon me. We need to subtract. 6 minus 4 is 2, and then we have a 12. Now, again, I want it in its simplest form. Okay, so if I want it in its simplest form, I'm going to divide. What number can I divide the top and the bottom by that's the same, that would give me the simplest form, an equivalent fraction that's simple? Well, I always start with what? 2. Oh, 2 divided by 2. Yes. Can 12 divide by 2? You betcha. If I count by 2s, I'll land on 12. So I'm going to divide by 2 at the top and divide by 2 at the bottom. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. So 2/12 or 1/6 are equivalent. And 1/6 is in its simplest form. We can't divide it any farther down. All right, here we go. Number 4. Find the sum, show your answer in simplest form. So 2 plus 1 is 3 out of 3 pieces. Oh, my friends, if I have 3 out of 3 pieces, what do I have? If I have a candy bar and it's split into 3 pieces, and I have all 3 pieces, how much of the candy bar do I have? I have the whole candy bar. So 3 out of 3 equals 1. That's the simplest form, the simplest number. 1 is the simplest number. All right, let's look at the next one. Find the sum, show your answer in simplest form. All right, 3/6 plus 1/6. 3 plus 1 is 4 out of 6. All right, now remember, we want it in its simplest form, an equivalent fraction. So I always start with what? What am I going to divide by? I'm going to always try 2. Okay, so if I divide by 2 on the 4, 2, 4, yep, that's divisible. How about 6? 2, 4, 6, you bet you. So I'm going to divide by 2, divide by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 4/6 and 2/3 are equivalent, and 2/3 is in the simplest form. All right, last problem. 5 plus 3. 5 plus 3 is 8, and we have 14. Okay, now again, I want it in its simplest form, but I have to have an equivalent fraction. So I'm going to divide. So what number could I divide the top and the bottom by that would be the same number? Okay, I'm going to start with 2. 2 is my easiest one to start with. So I'm going to divide. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 4/7 is equivalent to 8/14. All right, my friends, decomposing the fractions. You know how to decompose. If you forgot, go back to page 5 and look at those. I'm going to let you do those on your own. Let's jump down to number 10. Write the improper fraction as a mixed number. Okay, so how many pieces is my shape split into? 4. So I'm going to split it into 4 and 4 and 4. Now, how many of those pieces are colored in? 9 of them. So if I color in one whole circle, how many shapes have I colored in? 4. And if I color in another 4, how many do I have colored in? 8. But I need 9, so I need one more colored in. So my mixed number is 2 whole plus 1/4. 2 whole circles plus 1/4 of a circle. All right? Okay, now the next one, we're going to write an improper fraction for the mixed number. So I'm splitting into 5 pieces. Okay, so I'm going to draw these in boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to assume that those are equal pieces, even though Mrs. Nelson didn't draw them very equal. Okay, how many pieces do I need to have colored in? 7. So I'm going to color in these 5 to start with. And then I'm going to color in 2 more. So the question is, what is the mixed number? What is the mix of whole numbers plus fraction? Well, the mixed number is 1 whole and 2/5. 1 and 2/5. All right, now these ones, we're going to go the opposite direction. So these ones, they're going to give us the mixed number, just like this, and they want us to put it as an improper fraction. So I'm going to show you a trick. Are you guys ready? This is the fun trick. All right, so the first thing that you do is multiply. You multiply this little butterfly wing right there. 5 times 3. 5 times 3 is what? 15. And then you add whatever number is right here. So 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16, and then we don't touch the denominator. We leave the denominator the same. So if I had circles that were colored and I had 16 of them colored in, and they were all split into thirds, I would need 5 whole circles colored in, plus another 1/3. All right, so remember the trick. Multiply the butterfly wing. 9 times 2 is 18, and then I add the 4, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and don't touch the denominator. I'm going to leave that as a 9. So if I had squares that were, or circles that were split into 9 pieces, and I needed 2 4/9 of them colored in, I would have to color in 22 of those pieces, which would give me 2 whole ones and then 4/9 left over. All right, my friends, thanks for sticking with me. NF3, pages 6 and 7. Don't forget to do those ones that I didn't go over with you because I know you know how to do them. All right, my friends, way to be fraction masters. Bye.